from this round, I'll start off with you, Shamima, because you were on when the president started the address. In his mind, it says he's fulfilled the promises and tick the number of boxes in there as well. But earlier, you heard the concerns that were raised, specifically about illegal mining as well. The president says there's work being done.
A lot.
But the CSOs, and by extension, you have some sentiments about what has not been done so far. You think the president acknowledged that from what we heard?
Yes, because this was a status report. And my key takeaway is that we should join hands to build this Ghana we want. Because this Ghana, this new Ghana we envision, will not be built by only political leaders. It will be built by all of us contributing to the cause. And you did say, it's almost like you've set your questions for yourself as a teacher and you have your marking scheme. So His Excellency sets his questions and he has his marking scheme. And from our marking scheme, based on our motive and our intention, if you look at them, again, we as a communication unit, we went through the entire 25 promises. And we can confidently say that of the 25 promises, 20 have been done and 5 are in various progress states or status. And so if you look at his speech, he has explained for those areas that people have concern about, for example, COVID-19 levy.
Yes.
He's given us an explanation, which is a very tenable explanation and a reasonable explanation for why the COVID levy is not out. But you can measure his commitment by what he has done with the other ones that he has abolished.
So the concern for the business community is that you don't measure effort, you measure results, your outcome, is it not? So yes, the promise to take off e-levy has been fulfilled, the betting tax has been fulfilled, COVID-19 is still on our books. I spoke to the finance minister. He says there are already measures in place by end of year, all things being equal, which the president also corroborates. But that cannot be said to have been fulfilled.
If you were to assess,
it cannot be said to have been fulfilled.
No, so if you were to assess the taxes that we promised, of the 4 or 5, if we have achieved 1 and 1 is in progress, is that a fail? You know, so we must be fair in the way we assess. That is certainly not a fail. If you are, because it is, we promised to abolish a number of taxes, including COVID-19, and we have done 4 of them. And COVID-19 is already in the process. It's not like we haven't touched it. So the tax rationalization, you know, that we have promised, the finance ministry is hard at work, working together with our development partners, with the IMF, group, to agree on the exit plan. And by September, we should have a new VAT rationalized scheme that should give us the platform to now remove the COVID-19 levy. I think every fair-minded person listening to this explanation would not question the commitment to actually, the fear should be that there's really no commitment and that this is just buying time to continue with the COVID. September will come, the end of the year will come, and that will be the truest test to the integrity of His Excellency if he refuses then to abolish the COVID-19
It's a fair
levy.
point, but the context we're doing this analysis is within the 120 days.
Yes.
So you can understand why that conversation about not being about the effort and a lot more about the results so measured. Because you were quite clear that 20 have been fully fulfilled.
Yes.
And the other 5, some of them are at the various
stages. But even if you watch the 25, we have not started measuring impact yet. So these are foundational actions that we have taken. So we have appointed a lean government. But can we assess the impact of that lean government? That is a 4-year tenure.
Yes.
So if you should look at the promises as indications of commitment to transform and to act. And the beginnings of that commitment materializing in some of these basic decisions that we have taken. And nobody who is really fair-minded will question, therefore, the results. If you're talking about results, so we say we're going to do this, we have done it. But measuring impact is a longer-term process.
Indeed.
And in our 120-day social contract, we are well aware of those framings. But we said that we needed to, as soon as possible, restore trust in the Ghanaian economy. And to do that, we needed to do some tangible things, foundationally. And because we have done those things, you have heard reports from the IMF spring meetings. Our development partners are happy with the trajectory that we are moving. They are fully on board, and they support His Excellency's plans to restore the economy as well as to deal with the vexed social problems that we have. And so for us, as a government, we are very pleased with how far we have come. And we are even setting new targets for ourselves into the next quarter and beyond, towards the end of the year, because there need to be urgency to the actions so that people don't feel like it's business as usual. And so for us, we are very happy, and the likes of Professor Stephen Adai has come out. We know him. He's a veteran governance expert, and he believes that this government, under His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, has done excellently well. Not perfect, not 100%, but there's real ray of hope and commitment, and I think that the people of Ghana will join hands with him to move this nation forward. Right.
And Charles, I'll bring you in. Beyond all of us also feeling the impact of the COVID levy still on receipts when you go out there to buy anything from the supermarket. You, Guta, do business. This was one of your major expectations of this administration. Do you find solace in the assurance by the president and then also the process already in place to have it removed, even beyond this 120 days?
All right, thank you, and good evening to your viewers and my co-panels here. In fact, one of the key things that made us have that confidence, proud to the president ascending to presidency, is a social contract that he entered with us, because there was a series of meetings on what we need to do in case he has the opportunity to be a president. One of the things that we raised was forest management. One of the things we talk about how we can bring cost of doing business down. One of the things that we're looking at how you can stem inflation, right? And how do you create jobs? How do you make our environment much more attractive so that we can be frontiers of global changes? So far as competitive market in Africa is concerned. So when you do a careful review from January up to date, you could see that the trend is pointing to something positive. Let me take forests. We started with $1 as high as 16 to $1. Now, as we speak, dollar is trading around 13.7. What it does to us as businesses is it reinforces our gains. You see, previous years we were talking about forest highs and how it was depleting our working capital. And when your working capital is depleting as businesses, that means your strain of doing business is going down. And we've said it so many times that businesses or the private sector is the engine of growth of every economy. So when our businesses are collapsing, when our strain is moving down, it means there's no economy. The economy will also be affected. So when you see a situation where there is a pragmatic and conscious program and interventions to arrest what has been collapsing businesses, that gives us some respite.
And that's the depreciation of the city?
No. The appreciation of the city.
You said that the depreciation of the city was collapsing businesses.
Exactly.
So now we're seeing an improvement in the performance of the city against the dollar.
Exactly.
And that has positively impacted your businesses.
Perfectly, yes.
Okay.
So when you also look at how forest, cities is outperforming forest, it has a tendency of also affecting inflation. What it does to the ordinary Ghanaian is when inflation comes down, it gives you the purchasing power. So just imagine in the sector, business want to sell. The ordinary Ghanaian doesn't have purchasing power to buy. Where is the economic activity? So economic activity comes standstill, which affects economic growth. So now if you see forest coming down, you see inflation coming down, that means that there's a positive environment for business to grow. One of the things that you also experience when forest highs is happening is people lose confidence in the economy. So you see capital flights, You see people buying forest to hold as a store of value, right? That also affects an economy. 2022, you saw businesses, multinationals moving out their business from Ghana. It was because we're losing confidence in our economy. Our cities were depreciating. As we speak now, from January to date, the city has appreciated about 7%. That also means that even our debt to GDP must come down now. That means that there was no need for government looking for taxes from businesses.
That's the dollar component of our external.
Exactly. When you do the arithmetic, that's supposed to mean that
all things being equal,
all things being equal, our debt to GDP must come down. That gives us space to grow as a country. That gives us space to grow as businesses. And that, of course, we're also looking at government policy to stem his expenditure, fiscal expenditure. And he has reduced, his taste for borrowing. What it does is when government reduces its taste for borrowing, they do not compete with business on the money market. So the crowding out effect is reduced. That means businesses can go to the bank, borrow and recapitalize their businesses for business to grow. When businesses are growing, when businesses are expanding, there's always a need for headcount. That means that private sector can now employ the teeming youth, and we therefore reduces the pressure on government to create jobs for the youth. These are the trajectory that gives us that confidence that if they're able to sustain these policies, there's a future for this country.
So the sustainability question is key, because yes, 120 days in focus, but the bigger issue here is beyond the 120 days.
We also want the traders to respond to these positive signs by way of, reducing the reduction in the prices,
of
goods and
therefore, let me
anytime this comes up, you hear them say that you've already
only determinant in terms of price builder. There are a lot of factors. You're looking at cost of borrowing. Okay, you're looking at utility bills. So you can't take one leg, when one leg is doing well, to draw a conclusion that price of item must come down. You also want to talk about the VAT system. VAT is a consumption tax. If today I decide to reduce my item, because we're still having a constant higher VAT rate, the price effect will not be felt in the market. So if you want to see real effect of price reduction in the market, the reforms that we're talking about in a VAT system must be addressed as early as possible.
The VAT amendment bill that also includes the COVID-19 levy.
And you see, you must address the cascading effect even when it comes to the VAT system. We're talking about tax on tax, which of course defiles the basic principle of taxation.
But we've had engagement with the finance minister on this. There is that assurance to address this. Does that answer the questions that you have?
Of course, we want to believe in them because we've seen some sign that they are committed to doing some of the things they promised to do. But until that is done, there shouldn't be an early cry for price reduction in the system. As we speak now, cost of borrowing still remain constant.
Join hands with us and ease the burdens more for the people of Ghana.
Of course. You see, economic growth is gradual.
Yes.
All right. So we give it ourselves some time. You don't just jump to reduce price because maybe forest is coming down. You must also avert your mind to cost of replacement.
Okay.
Right? So you look at all these indicators before you draw a conclusion that this is how it's going to be.
But you see, that the reason why you can understand Shamima pushing this is that the only way these economic indicators we talk about, which has improved and going the positive trajectory, is going to make sense to the person watching us, is when it directly translates into the tangibles in the person's life. So you talk about inflation reducing, as we saw today. The government has announced it. We're talking about the cedi appreciating against the dollar. There has to be some fiscal specific indicators. That's why she's talking about that at least the reaction from you, reflecting in how you do your business as Gota.
One, forests have come down. It has affected inflation. So we're expecting the policy rate also will come down. When these things are achieved, we can have a very conversation about price reduction.
Well,
and the other thing, you see, we've been crying out that Ghana is one of the most expensive destinations when it comes to doing business. Now, if we're able to have constant stability within the forest, reduction in inflation, but utility bill goes high, it erodes all the gains. So the call for PURC to increase tariffs should be looked at again. So that you do not subvert all the effort that fiscal policy and money policy have helped us to achieve.
The tariff is also a function of
It's important. A very